man, you need to buy yourself a gun. What? A gun? Oh, what? Like a handgun for personal protection. If somebody tries to mug you. What? What if your government tries to throw you in a can? What? You're gonna want a shotgun. Oh. What? One automatic rifle and a lot of ammo. Good.
We're all set to riot. Buy a gun before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They'll burn you out like a Waco. They'll stick your ass in a camp. Jackbooted cops in riot gear, gonna kick your ass and laugh. The revolution is on its way. Better lock and load your AK. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. We're all set to riot. Buy a gun before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They gave your money to the banksters. They stole your pension funds. It's time that we took to the streets. It's time we had our turn. A revolution is on its way, and the founding fathers would say, buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. You got a riot in the streets. Revolution's not clean and neat. You got a riot in the streets. Revolution's not clean and neat. You gotta drag them through the streets.
It is Tuesday. We are live. We are loaded. This is PrimerTime, and my name is Michael.
I'm Nick, and welcome to the post-congressional speech episode of PrimerTime.
I hope y'all listen. The boss man spoke. We all know who runs this baby now.
So get your shekels and get some hope and change ready.
I'll tell you what, you could be just a good American, just like Senator Ted Cruz, and put on some of them big old Texas knee pads and get ready to kiss the wall.
Oh, man. So we're going to have a politically charged event here today, I can tell.
This is a little bit, yeah. We got some issues to discuss tonight. This is something we've got to look at as a group of people who enjoy a certain pastime and believe in certain things. I think this is important issues we got to talk about.
Sure is.
But before we hit that, how was your week? You get anything done?
I did get some stuff done. Unfortunately, not the college work that I need to do because, Uncle Sam only is going to pay me if I finish this college class that I'm dreading. But I actually got
What do you take?
It's college math, so algebra 2 and trig and all that good stuff that I should have done about 20 years ago, but was too busy fucking around.
You know what? You should just buy them credits online or something like that.
Yeah, you do it and you spend a lot of money and it's good for about 2 years and somebody figures out you didn't go to class.
Nobody actually uses calculus in real life.
Yeah, well, the only thing I've ever heard calculus described as is when I go to the dentist's office, and that's what they say is on my teeth.
This is a brushing problem.
Yeah. So, but yeah, actually, during the week, as a matter of fact, the next day after our show last week, I was able to pick up a new shotgun.
I like a boomstick. Tell me about this.
So this is a Winchester Model 1400 20 gauge semi-automatic and a 2 3/4 inch chamber. So this is actually my first semi-automatic shotgun. I've had nothing but pumps and brake actions before, and I can say that I'm pretty pleased. The price is right, $220, and it comes from a guy that I work with, and he's a fairly enthusiastic man about firearms. So, the weapon itself is in great condition. There's no loose ends. The forearm is very tight up against the forearm and the barrel. And like I said, I don't think I could have come out on the downside of this one. It's just too good of a firearm to pass up the deal on.
Well, I'll tell you what, and that comes with wood furniture on it,
It
correct?
does. It does. It comes with the wood stock on the fore end, and actually the action has a jewel in it. So they take the little spinning Dremel tool when they were at the factory, and they put the well, I guess those are quarter-inch jewel marks on the action.
That's nice. That helps with the movement. It almost acts like a lubrication. That's pretty cool.
So it's
That's
pretty slick.
workmanship that you don't find on anything anymore. Now, the 1400 is a discontinued model.
That
Is
is
that correct?
correct. That is correct. This is discontinued. However, thanks to Google Docs, I was able to find the owner's manual that the individual himself did not have, but I was able to find it online and download it in a PDF format. So I actually
Yeah,
have,
that's pretty good.
yeah,
Pretty much all you need.
yep,
You've got something that's American made. That money stayed in the United States because that money went to another American. You got quality that is not available now. And I say you scored. I say
yeah,
you scored at double the price, dude.
yeah. And
Straight.
from what I'd seen online, I'd seen other of the same model going anywhere from 250 on up to 350, whether it was gun broker or whatnot. None of which I saw it here at the bottom of it on the butt cap. There's actually at the bottom of the pistol grip. There's a cap, and it actually has the Winchester W logo in it.
That's pretty nice. That means it was probably made. Oh, I'm guessing sometime in what year did they move the factory to Japan and then to Morocco? That would have been like 85,
Yeah,
86. So that
I'm
means it
guessing
was
this
just
is
coming
this
in.
is late '80s manufactured. So
No, I'm thinking it's earlier 80s than that, to be honest with you. I'm thinking that's going to be sometime 82, 83, 84.
yeah, I mean it's hard to tell. And Winchester, of course, when you look at their homepage and you go to try and find the manuals and any information about it.
They don't
Um,
like sure.
they have it, but it's real difficult to open depending upon your browser. Um, and then you take a look at it. Some actual manufacturers will do like a date my firearm kind of deal. And that's one thing that I think that if you stand behind your product, that as a manufacturer should be something that you're willing to go ahead and do for any customer, because a lot of folks, they may not know the history of the firearm. They may not know when it was sold. They may only know, hey, I just got it from this guy. And that just adds a little bit of nostalgia to it when you think about it, because if you're like me, you keep pretty meticulous records about your firearms. um, it's nice to have something that says, hey, this was manufactured here. And that way, if you ever decide that you do want to make a sale on it, you don't have to deal with somebody who's estimating a date of production instead of knowing exactly when this came off the line.
And once again, this goes back into educate yourself, and that's probably the most important investment you can make in the firearms community.
Yeah, certainly. So what I actually did is promptly after picking that up and on my way home, I stopped at Ye Old Walmart and was able to pick up a box of rifled slugs from Winchester, keeping it in the family, and those ran me $5.95, and then there in the ammo case under lock and key were 30 round boxes of SS 109 5.56 ammunition made by ZQI out of Turkey. And I picked up two boxes at $9.95 a piece.
My lord, that's a regular price.
That was 33 cents a round, my friends.
That's not bad. That's not bad. Let me tell you about my weekend. I went down to the gun show, and I'll tell you, this has been the busiest gun show I'd seen since prior to our esteemed Senator Dianne Feinstein's last bill in Congress to eliminate certain types of firearms.
It's because they're black, isn't it?
I believe so. It's purely racist, and if you thought Al Sharpton would not appear on tonight's show, you have been sorely misled by the white man.
That's right.
All right, so I got there about noon, and the show runs from 9 till 5. I got there at about noon, and there was 50 people ahead of me in line, and it was raining.
Wow. And they were still standing in line.
They were still standing in line waiting to get in. I got in. The place was packed. Usual Saxett show. I like these guys. $5 to get in, no parking fee. And went in, and it was wall-to-wall people. I haven't had to suck it in and turn sideways to get down an aisle in a long time.
You haven't been to
Uh,
an army base lately.
no, I'm staying away from those at this time. Um, I would dare say of the it was near capacity crowd. There was about 400 tables, and I'm going to say that 85% of them were firearms and firearms accessories, meaning magazines, optics, whatever AR-15 goodies you want, bayonets, the like. Then there was the usual assortment of guys with books, and the flea market crap was minimal this
So,
time. It was it really. I almost enjoyed this one just because there wasn't all the flea market. Was something for people who obviously were first time gun show goers and were not actually into it. So there was something for everybody at this show. Once again, Bubba's out of Port O'Connor had the badass jerky of the show. Thank you, Mr. Bubba.
there you go.
Let's get to the ammo.
Yeah.
Due to the recent legislation or not legislation, but this actually, what is it, Nick? You know this.
Yeah. I mean,
It's what is it? It's a presidential memorandum.
yeah. So here's the deal. Uh, you'll hear a lot of the party operatives say, "Oh, the president has signed less presidential executive orders than all of his predecessors." Well, that's because he's had the benefit of a controlled Senate from his own party, and any vote that they did not want to come to the floor for him to have to veto never made it. And therefore, whenever he had to do something that was an executive action, like in the first round of the scare about the unilateral action that he was going to take on gun control, he issued presidential memoranda. And presidential memoranda are very similar to executive orders, except that there's no provision to repeal an executive order. I'm sorry, a presidential memoranda. Congress has absolutely no power. Their hands are tied, and it's bad business for everybody. Because what it works down to is a presidential decree, and this is his preferred method of doing business. And it's recently come to light that, well, now that he's got to deal with a contested Senate, he just can't do the things he used to do. So, this is the safest way for him to go ahead about doing what his agenda is.
So this is his gun show loophole, so to speak.
This is his loophole. He can get through whatever he wants to do, and as you can see by the Department of Homeland Security bill that went through the very wussily controlled Republican House, John Boehner, I think you've got some shit hanging from your nose. There's no way for basically any true person that really wants to see the right of the people be enforced, or the will of the people be enforced. We're in for some dark days ahead, because we got people that are just bending over and taking it.
I'll agree with you. We're in for dark days on many levels, because at this show, the M855 and the 193 that you bought, we're going for $1.50 a round. That's right, $30 for a 20-round box.
Yeah. So
everything else in 5.56.
Yeah, let's talk.
Everything else 5.56 and 223 was $1 a round. Now you got it for 33 cents, which is the real price.
Right.
Be smart. Know what's going on. Don't fall victim to the panic shopping, because that's what this show was. It was panic shopping.
Well, and here's the thing. Okay, so anybody that knows anything about ammunition knows that there's four components to what we consider to be a round, or a live round. You've got the bullet itself, in other words, the projectile that leaves the barrel. You've got the case. You've got the propellant or the powder, and then you've got the primer. Okay, it's a policy reinterpretation that the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms is looking to do, is to say that the 62 grain SS-109 bullet, if fired from a handgun, can penetrate body armor. That's the whole stipulation that they went through and did with the 5.45 ammunition.
The 7.62 by 39 ammunition back in the day.
Exactly. Yeah. So here's the thing. Any round that was designed to be fired out of a rifle is likely going to penetrate some type of body armor. And
I would
you'll notice that
any center fire rifle round should penetrate a vest probably up to level 2.
right. And here's the thing: there's no definition that the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives is using, or at least putting forth for public debate, that says this is the criteria that we're going to use. This is just basically it's a policy reinterpretation that a bureaucrat is making, a non-elected individual who's saying that based on what this administration wants and the Department of Justice is urging them to do, is to just change something that's already been in place. Bottom line is that this proposed ban doesn't even meet the criteria that the ATF has for a ban on centerfire rifle ammunition to be fired out of a pistol, because there is an exemption in place for 22 caliber munitions. Most 22 caliber munitions are rimfire. However, 223, 224, these are all 22 caliber.
22 Hornet?
Yeah. These are all 22 caliber munitions. So they don't even meet the definition that the Bureau is trying to actually circumvent and say, we're just going to ban them. And this is the dangerous thing, because it just doesn't stop there. And if you think it does, you're doing the old ostrich with the head in the sand thing that we used to see on the cartoons. Okay? Because you're ignoring fact. Anything that can be put into an AR-15 frame can be modified to be fired with a brace and be considered a handgun. Or you don't even have to do that. You can fire a AR platform rifle with one hand. Does that make it a handgun? Who knows?
See, that's a very interesting point, because now we can look back at the recent ruling on the SIG brace. And people don't know what a SIG brace is. It was a modified hand brace that simulates a rifle stock for a pistol buffer on an AR-15. It makes it look like basically you can turn a pistol AR into a somewhat SBR short barrel rifle resembling thing. The ATF has ruled it's not the item, it is how you use it is now the criteria.
Right.
So that put basically the kibosh on anybody who has a SIG brace and bringing it up to their shoulder.
Well, and here you go. Because for anybody that's ever done anything, you can do the $200 stamp and get a short barrel rifle permit under the NFA. So, here's the thing. This is a concerted effort to circumvent existing laws and basically eliminate an entire class of calibers from being able to be purchased in the United States, because it doesn't just stop with the 5.56. And they're saying that the ban will not include the 55 grain XM193. Okay, follow to the logical conclusion and see that they make AR-9s, they make AR-47s, they make AR-10s. There goes your 9mm, there goes your 308 or your 7.62x5.1.
There's plenty of AR platforms that fire a 45 ACP. They're going to 45
exactly.
ACP.
Yep, you got your 458 SOCOM, you've got your 6.5, your 6.8. This is what it comes down to, people. Because what was one of the other categories that had to be satisfied for the exemption to be granted? It had to be made of predominantly steel or predominantly lead.
Right, and I believe it's 25% steel, and it excludes like beryllium, tungsten, depleted uranium, and a couple other super hard metals.
Ooh, depleted uranium. I'd like 2, please.
Yeah. Hold your breath.
Yeah. So when you take a look at it, we have no more lead smelting plants in the United States, thanks to another government agency that has not been without scandal, the EPA. The EPA just went ahead and restricted the ability for the United States companies to have a business in the lead smelting industry, which has basically converted all ammunition to being without lead, with the exception of some of the hunting rounds. And most of them are different bimetal configurations anyhow. So
some of them are polymers mixed with metal dusts.
Could be.
I don't understand this.
you hear the push to make green ammunition. The United States Army
Absolutely.
was testing green ammunition, or ammunition that had a very low metal or metallic signature to it. Um, didn't pan out so well in field testing, but I can guarantee you they're going to try and make us use that sometime in the future. Well, it's not very far. It's not very far away that the day comes and it's like, oh, hey, by the way, you will no longer be able to use something that's a full metal jacket either. And I think this is where we're headed.
We're going to end up with marshmallow ammunition that's
Well,
underloaded.
yeah, and
That's what they
certainly
want.
underloaded because low.
Well, I'll tell you what. The show there was plenty.
Say that
I'm
again,
sorry.
Michael.
Go.
No. You just dropped off for a second.
Uh, at this show, there were plenty of people that seemed to be concerned with it, mostly misinformed. But they did seem to have some sort of concern that something was afoot. Um, there seemed to be a lot of people that this was their first show, and with that, you see kind of a lot of you see lots of violations of basically keep your booger hook off the bank switch and don't point it at anybody. Um, Saw a lot of that, and something I found to be somewhat humorous was a lot of guys regaling the retailer behind the table about all their experience with firearms and their time in the special forces and all that yahoo stuff, while they're like fondling a Jimenez Arms JA9 or a Davis 380, lovingly, and they're
Yes.
talking about their time behind crew-served weapons in the NOM. And sorry, I found that to be a little funny right there.
Well, I
Uh,
think that one of the things that's interesting about gun shows in general is you get a certain level of poser that shows up. So it's interesting because the latest thing is being able to have veterans are kind of taking it a little bit upon themselves to identify and bring to public shame those who would attempt to uh, claim some type of military service that they never had. Um, there's a whole lot of people that do that. It doesn't just have to be for military service, but I mean that's the one that draws the headlines nowadays. Um, I personally have never run into somebody who's tried to impersonate being a soldier, namely because I think that there's enough of a public eye out there right now looking for that kind of stuff. But I would bet that there's a certain crowd that goes to the gun shows, hoping that they can get some kind of benefit out of purporting to have had some kind of military service in their background when they actually did not.
yeah, there was a bit of that. I think it may have been a bit of embellishment. I think it may have been a bit of somebody's trying to impress somebody. Maybe they did have some military service. Just their actions around the firearms were not indicative that they were well versed with
Yeah.
the items.
Yeah, and usually you have your own. We used to call profiling criteria, but profiling is wrong, so we don't do it anymore. You take a look at who you're willing to deal with and who you're not willing to deal with. I certainly will not deal with anybody who comes to the table and just doesn't follow the old rule of look with your eyes and not with your hands. If you come up to the table and you put your hands on something without asking, you're gonna have like a yardstick. I'm gonna go Catholic.
That happens a lot on tables, and that seems to happen much more on the retailers who have a large supply. So the guys who are pushing a lot of new pistols. It doesn't happen as much with guys with smaller tables that are right there.
Right.
But it happens when a guy's got his back turned.
Yeah, certainly, and I think that there's almost like a criminal element that goes to those type of events for the sheer fact that like you said, it was wall to wall people, and if you don't have enough people working a table, if you're a seller, if you don't have enough people that are there with you to keep an eye on your inventory, somebody will try to do something nefarious.
I have been to shows where there have been firearms stolen, and I will say that they have been stolen from smaller tables. Most of the larger retailers have like an alarmed cable lock that will snake through all the firearms. So if somebody goes to remove one of them, they all start to beep,
Right.
and somebody knows where it's at.
Well, take a look at it like this. Does the individual
know,
who's trying to set up a table on their own, do they have that kind of money to invest in that kind of security?
Probably not. And at that point, it's cheaper to take two people to work the table, and
Yeah.
you don't take your eyes off the table. And
Exactly.
that's just doing business right there. There was quite a much larger police presence at this show than usual. Usually there's maybe 3 or 4 cops at this. This time there was at least 20 uniformed officers, and I'm going to guess a good number of undercover officers amongst the crowd.
Well, are you gonna be of the opinion that any of those were federal officers versus just like a county sheriff's deputy or something like that, or a town constable?
I would think that were undercover amongst the crowd. I would almost guess that they were federal or maybe at a state level. These were not. Well, let's just be honest. The cops in my area are not in the best shape, and that's in the entire general region of my area. Because, well, hey man, we got tacos, and you know what? Those are just really fat pills in the end.
Hey, round is a shape, and every single one of those cops is in shape.
So I'm not going to say it was one of those guys, just because they generally, after a couple of years on the force, decide that, hey, tacos and donuts are free, so we're going to get in on this.
Actually, I thought it was because the bullet has to travel through fat a lot farther than it has to travel through muscle.
And you know what? I'm guessing that they're doing their best to get as much fat as they can.
Yeah, well, you know, body armor can be defeated. Fat can only be parted.
Yeah, there were some big old fat boys in uniform there. But I think the guys that were undercover were probably state or federal. Kind of looked at them, and you could tell. You could just tell.
Yeah, the short haircuts tend to give it away.
Yeah, that was pretty much the short haircuts and the boots.
Yeah, they're wearing the 5.11 tactical boots, and they've got their khaki pants on with their black polo. Yeah, you know who's who. Yeah,
so that was there, and honestly, I don't mind that because I'm not there for nefarious reasons. I've got my own issues to go to a show for. There's certain things I look for. I'm not one of the shoppers that fingers everything. There's a couple things I'd like to look for, and that's about it. Other than that, I mean, the show was packed. I didn't see anything. I got a lot of input on the items I brought for possible trade. My Sig 938 that I'm desperately lusting after at this point, the cheapest I found it was $648.
Ooh, that's pretty pricey.
That's right. That was not within the budget this week. So anyhow, all in all, it was a good show. It was much better than the past couple shows, just due to the number of people and the excitement in the air.
So did you notice anything that was being sold in terms of like, you have the typical flea market stuff, but were you seeing anything kind of like any high-end vendors when it comes to like the LED lenser flashlights or the the ATI night vision? Did you see anybody that was maybe a distributor or somebody like that? Were those tables?
I wouldn't say they were a distributor. They were just a large volume sales, and it wasn't anything that was high-end. It was all NC Star made in China stuff.
Ah, yes.
Good
it
wasn't really
products.
Maybe radioactive, whatever. You got an eye on the other side.
Hey, yeah. So yeah, that's one of the things that I think it's interesting when you go to firearm shows in different locations. You'll see a different class. Having had the benefit of going to a big exposition, I'm talking like 3 and 5 day gun shows in Germany. These things are set up like the Ritz-Carlton. They've got high-end vendors. They've got basically beer gardens set up in the exhibition halls. This is not that kind of event.
No, absolutely not. I've never been to a show like that. The largest I've ever been to is the Los Angeles County Fair, and or the Los Angeles County Show that happens at the LA County Fairgrounds, and that was a massive show. I would say it was 4 exhibition halls and then tables outside. And you couldn't, if you got there first thing in the morning and waited until they closed that day, you could not walk that whole thing in one day.
Yeah.
And do any kind of justice.
That's the best way that I've seen in terms of when you want to go in and you want to take in a gun show. even if it's something that's at the county and it's a 2-day event, go for a couple hours at a time. Don't necessarily go and spend a whole day down there, because you can look around and you can see, hey, I don't need to hit this, I don't need to hit that, I don't need to have that. But you know that there's going to be that one product that somebody's going to have, and you go and look for that. But otherwise, don't waste your time, looking at the crap that's, 50 shades of rust. You don't need to waste that.
Unless you're in the market for that thing that's got 50 shades of rust, and sometimes you find a bargain under there. And you know what? Elbow grease is free.
It is, but navel
Steel
jelly,
wool is cheap.
Gets under your nails and hurts a little bit.
That's very true. All right, so let's talk about something else that hurts a little bit. Today was the address to the United States Congress by Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. How do you feel about that?
The way I look at it is probably different than you. I take a look at this and say, he is a foreign leader. What he says should not influence our system of government, should not influence our lawmakers. However,
well, that's the big qualifier right there, isn't it?
Right,
should.
Yeah, should. So I know that there's quite a large cabal of people in our Congress and people in our Senate who are dual citizens. And to me, that's wrong. Flat out, that's wrong. You can come to the United States and you can say your point of view. We are a whatever remnant of our free society we are. I'm not one to stifle speech, but I do take issue with people telling us how to run our lives and how to run our business. And you know what? I may not necessarily agree with what's going on in our government, but it's one thing to come here and tell us how to do stuff in our own.
It's my government to disagree with it.
Exactly. So
all right.
But when I take a look at that going the other direction, I find it interesting that the people that spoke up the loudest against this visit happen to be people of the same faith. It just happen to be a different party than those.
I would almost disagree with you, and they spoke the loudest. I just would say that they were able to get the media attention.
Yeah. Well,
and to be honest with you, the people that they've chosen to represent the outrage at his appearance are not the ones that are going to. Well, seriously, they're not the ones that are going to jive with regular Americans. And I'm going to get on a soapbox for a second, but I'm a regular guy. I've got several regular guy friends. They're all kind of like me in a separate way. But once they kind of figure out what's going on, they're not going to be happy.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. I think there's a certain demographic out there that is not financially stable enough to be of that category. You know what I mean?
I understand what you're saying.
There's quite a few people out there that are never going to be enlightened enough to have that frame of mind that says, you know what, we are here to help you because we're from the government and you don't know how to do anything right for yourself. So,
well, aside from that, let's talk about we're here from the government. We're here to help. We've got an issue with our veterans, and I'm talking about our recent veterans at this point. Guys that have injuries ranging from PTSD to amputations, closed head injuries, the entire range of traumatic methods of trauma that could induce life-altering changes to somebody. These guys are hurt, and we've got a situation where they're not getting the funding that they need. They're not either getting the payments or their treatments are being reduced, and it's all because of funding. The budget doesn't allow it. Well, I'm going to tell you what. I'll get you $3 billion to help these guys right now. You stop giving money to Israel.
Yeah, well, I think here's the thing.
$6 billion a year that we give these guys, that we have veterans of recent veterans. I'm not even talking, guys from wars past. I'm talking recent veterans right now that could use it. We have to take care of all of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, take a look at it. You've got the You've got the new director of the Veterans Affairs, or the Secretary of Veterans Affairs. He's definitely stepped in it. We just talked about guys who were doing some stolen valor stuff. For those of you who don't know, old Bob McDonald has claimed that he was a Special Forces veteran. He was caught on a microphone talking to a indigent veteran and talking about being in Special Forces, when in fact he was not. So if that doesn't tell you about the level of contempt for actual honest and faithful service, nothing does. So, yeah, I mean,
Well, and it's not just a level of contempt for the guys who have been in the service. It's a level of contempt for every freaking American out there.
yeah, because you know what, when people go into the service, it's not just them that are serving. You got family members, you got moms, dads, brothers, sisters, kids. It affects everybody, in some way, shape, or form. And like I said, there's less than 1%.
These are American citizens.
Yeah.
These are American citizens whose children go out and get lied to, honestly, and get told that they're serving freedom and democracy. They go out and they fight for somebody else. We've got citizens in this country who claim the dual citizenship, and guess what? Their children do not join the United States military. They go off and serve 4 years in the Israeli Defense Forces. Somebody we could bring to mind with that is Mayor of Chicago, Rahm Emanuel. He did that. He did not serve in the United States military. He served in the Israeli military, and he's the mayor of Chicago. I've got a problem with that.
Sure did, and not only that,
and he pushes for gun control quite rapidly.
Yeah, he does. And thankfully enough, the people in Chicago have figured out that they're kind of tired of that guy over there. They're actually getting a big push from the teachers union, and they are supporting a Hispanic to run against his honor. So I was very surprised that this is going to a run.
How anti-Semitic that teachers union to do that?
Well, teachers unions are some pretty powerful lobbies. So you just gotta watch out. You piss off the people that deal with your little rugrats for 8 hours a day. You know what? Watch out.
Well, we've got some issues on gun control tonight. Watching the speech with Netanyahu and all the Americans out there wearing their best knee pads in the audience, I noticed some familiar faces. I noticed Senator Dianne Feinstein.
Feinstein for all my German friends.
What do you know about Senator Dianne Feinstein?
Well, she's got a very European name. Can't really put
it's Irish. It's Irish.
Well, that's only if you work for Mossad and you take out an agent inside of the UAE.
Passports. We can deal with that later.
Yeah. So Dianne Feinstein, she's a perennial gun control advocate in the Senate. Some people, some people are surprised to know that she was actually a concealed carry holder in the 70s and the early 80s. However, as enlightened as she is, she decided to relinquish her CHL and say that she no longer needed it after the Earth First protesters who were targeting her husband were arrested.
Well, why would she need it? She's got armed bodyguards.
Of course, 5 or 6. But if that's the case, why would she need a CHL in the first place if she didn't believe that they were able to actually provide for her safety?
Because she was chosen to have one.
Yeah, it's that whole chosen thing.
The guy I saw sitting in the audience of this here Shekel Fest up there in the Congress, Chucky Schumer.
Yeah, another wonderful example from Illinois.
No, he's from New York. Chuck Schumer's from New York.
Are you sure?
Schumer's from New York. Co-sponsor with another guy who was at the Havala Festival tonight. Senator Howard Metzenbaum was there.
Another
co-sponsor,
another wonderful German name.
Yeah, co-sponsors of the Brady bill.
Yeah.
Manuel was there. Senator Barbara Boxer was there.
Yes.
Senator Barbara Boxer's real last name is Levy. She was there. She's also a staunch gun control advocate. That's right. She wishes to take your right away from you.
Certainly, and not only that, thankfully enough, she has relinquished or will relinquish the seat that she currently sits in, and she has said that she will not run again. However, what should concern a lot of people is what she has said that she will do after she leaves Congress, and that is most likely to follow Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Hillary Rom 2016, just the tip, America, just the tip.
Yeah. So, it's interesting. I think we've talked about it at length a couple different times on our shows, and there's very few people out there that don't have some type of religious bias when it comes to gun control. I think that some people may go back and say, well, you know what, it's not a very Christian thing to do, to sit there and be armed. Well, you know what? Let me introduce you to a guy named Sergeant Alvin York. Was a Seventh-day Adventist, came from the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee, didn't believe that it was, within him to conduct war. And you know what? He listened to some folks, and they kind of changed his mind, and he ended up earning a Medal of Honor in the Argonne Forest in France for capturing 136 Germans after killing about 26 with a 1911 45 caliber pistol and a 1903 Springfield. It was actually
That is a nice old bolt-action rifle and a horse knocking down caliber.
it was a 30-06. So
Now let me ask you a question. Sergeant Alvin York, he would describe himself as an American. Is that correct?
yeah. First and foremost, and actually, funny that you asked that, because while he was actually leading his remnants of his platoon into a forest outside of a town called Châtel-Chery, and the only reason I know that is because I've been there, he actually came across a German lieutenant, and when he went to capture the German lieutenant asked him, English? And he said, no, American. There was no thought other than that springing from his lips. And I think
now let me ask you a little bit more about. Let me ask you a little bit more about Sergeant Alvin York. As he speaks American, and I'll agree with him. That's the proper name for it. Would he be a Native American? Would he be of, let's say, the Indian or Aboriginal tribes in the United States?
No, I believe he was of the Moonshine tribe from Tennessee.
Okay, now so that means that his family was probably recent immigrants to the United States. Would that be a fair assumption?
Within the last 100 years, I would assume.
All right, so they are established. They have taken the mantle of an American. They own it and they love it.
Yes, certainly. And
no ties to the home country or to the Holy Land.
No foreign apostate that they subscribe to.
No need to make aliyah on somebody else's money.
Yeah. So it's interesting. We don't have we don't have the type of people in our government that are willing to stand up for your rights to own firearms, because they actually serve a different master. And you yourself may not be financially stable or independently wealthy enough to be given the pass on that side. But we've just got to tell people, take a look and see who continuously sponsors firearms prohibition bills in Congress. Look and see what their affiliations are, and look and see if they first and foremost identify themselves as Americans. Because if they're not, then there's a problem. And certainly there's a problem for anybody to tell you that you can't have something that is legal, just like it wouldn't be for you if they tell you that it's not okay to smoke, like it's not okay to drink. Anything that you do that is legal shouldn't be anybody else's business. And that's a problem when we've got people trying to tell you that they're smarter than you and they're doing this for your own good because you're too damn dumb to know better.
I'll tell you what, if you put up with it, you're too damn dumb.
Yeah, well,
we've got to say no.
We've got
never again.
We've got never again's already used. They use that one today.
Yeah, he did. He really reached deep into the bag of tricks, didn't he? He invoked the Holocaust. He invoked Moses. The triad tentacles of terror. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about this. Let's just say Iran gets a bomb, and let's put out of our minds the fact that if Iran really wanted a bomb, wouldn't they have bought one? I mean, they make oil.
Yeah,
You
there's
know,
cash out
that's
there.
cash, right?
There's cash out there, but there are quite a few ways that our government does influence people not to deal with them. That's
I'm sure if at some time they wanted to, they could have come up with enough cash and they could have bought a bomb from a falling apart Soviet republic. That is, that goes without saying. They've got enough cash to do it. So if they
the
really wanted a
Republic of
bomb, they'd
Kerblappistan.
have one by. Yeah, the Republic of Kerblackistan's, Frog 27 system. All right, so if they really wanted one, they'd have one by now. And let's say they have one. Is the first thing they're going to do go and toss it at Israel? I think not. That would be foolish considering that Israel has 411 and the ability to make 90 more within 8 months.
Yeah,
So that's
that may
foolish.
not be the wisest investment.
Right.
But
So
I do see the I do see the point, having dealt recently with a country that has pretty much employed blackmail under a sitting president's watch to actually the last three presidents that we've had have kind of turned a blind eye to this nation, this reclusive nation in northeastern northeastern Asia. And they don't have a whole lot of nuclear weapons, but they've got a couple. And I'll tell you what.
and you know what? And we don't invade them.
We don't, but I'll tell you the.
So we could almost look at a nuclear weapon as the nation state equivalent of having open carry.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't go that far. I don't think you can make that comparison in a.
No, because that's right. Because Israel is concealing theirs.
Well, yeah, and every nation that actually has a hand to play doesn't tip it before they're ready to. I mean that's just bad business if you do that. But here,
Okay, so let's just take a look at the possibilities. They've got one. What kind of threat is it to Israel? They're not going to actually attack them. What is it going to create? It's going to create a standoff, a stalemate, a sort of a détente.
The détente would actually
peace.
happen if there was a simmering or a cooling of the hostilities. That would be the détente.
Well, it would be a shaky and fragile peace to where nobody wanted to fire a shot.
Yeah, you would actually have something what was more commonly referred to as mutually assured destruction back in the 70s.
Exactly. All right, so that would lead to a period of relative peace in the fact that you're not shooting at each other every day.
Well, that would
give Iran, a nation of 80 million people with an average age of under 27, that would give them time to concentrate on their nation and build their nation into an economic powerhouse. Iranians are not stupid camel jockeys. Iranians are some of the smartest people on the face of the earth. They've been educated all over the world.
Yeah, just like most of the other Middle Eastern nations, they do export a lot and they re-import a lot of knowledge and information.
Currently, there's a subway project going on in Iran. And I'm not meaning to toot Iran's horn by any means. I'm not necessarily an Iran fan. I just got to look at things objectively. 800 miles of subway, that's not something a bunch of camel jockeys put together.
And we're not talking about the foot-long $5.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, these are trains. These are trains. These are subway trains. 800 miles of it.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that we've got to look is we got to look out for ourselves as a nation.
Absolutely.
You know what? Our priorities do not necessarily have to be in line with another nation's priorities, and I think that the closing speech pretty much said it all. You could expect a leader of a foreign nation that's being invited to come speak to raise a little bit of a specter of fear and uncertainty and sprinkle in some assorted nuances. And I think you saw that with the references to the Holocaust.
Absolutely
bringing in.
Now let's talk about his speech to AIPAC, the American Israeli Public Affairs Committee, that happened the day before yesterday. His first statement out of his mouth was, "I mean no disrespect to the president." And to be honest with you, I'm not a fan of the president, but I got to look at things honestly and objectively. And when a man says, "I'm not here to do this," usually means I'm here to do this.
Oh yeah, I'm not racist, but
exactly, that's it right there.
I'm not here to take your guns, but I think you shouldn't have this kind.
Exactly. And just an aside, the American-Israeli Public Affairs Committee meeting opened up with the Pledge of Allegiance, which was recited, and, it was a tad louder than Mrs. Johnson's fourth grade class reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, with about the same enthusiasm. The Israeli pledge came on, and it was raucous, to say the least.
Yeah. See, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance. I was working my day job, and I didn't get a chance to see the speech. I did catch a little bit of the snippets on the news channels at the end of the day. I will say this: you take a look at the fact that we are in a nation that has a predominant anti-gun lobby that is made up of a certain sect of people with a I would say more
A dual
or less,
loyalty.
not even a dual loyalty. I'm saying that their belief is pretty much run by you can just come right out and say it's Reform Judaism. So, you take a look at the folks that are for gun control, and they all kind of subscribe to the same theory. Those are not people that I were going to say are probably going to help you and I. I mean, they're definitely out there for themselves. They're definitely out there serving a different master, and they're certainly not looking out for the constituents and the will of their constituents.
It's a large issue to consider. This is something that raises ire. And I'll tell you what, this could be the conversation that, if you engage in it, that gets you called an anti-Semite. And congratulations, you've been hit with the most worthless and baseless accusation ever invented.
Ah, yes, but it is a tactic that is widely used and employed.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So this was one of the things that I'm very interested in terms of recent U.S. elections, and whether it be the House or whether it be the Senate, and different locations around the country. The candidates that go forward on gun control platforms, the folks that say we are going to limit your constitutional right to carry a firearm. And it's interesting to see what happens after they go and embark on that path and that agenda. A lot of them have actually left office kind of before their terms expired. We had the folks in Colorado that figured out that recalls really work. It's not just for California and Gray Davis anymore.
See ya. Don't let the door hit ya where the good Lord split ya.
Yep. So I think that it's very interesting that there's quite a few folks out there. I mean, I think Sheila Jackson Lee from Georgia was one of the ones that incorporated some gun control bills. Who was the loser of the week a couple weeks back from Illinois that decided that every bill that she was going to sponsor had to do something with firearms prohibition. It's just crazy to me that in places like Illinois, where the sheer numbers of gun deaths in a city that is supposed to not be allowed to have, the citizens are not supposed to allow to have firearms, the sheer amount of gun deaths that are being done, by a certain amount of people of one race against a certain amount of people by the same race. It's just crazy to me. I don't understand it for the life of me, how folks can actually vote these kinds of politicians into business.
And not only do they vote them in, they reelect them.
Well,
and then cheer them.
Yeah, certainly. And I think that when you take a look at strong liberal / Democrat bastions, you always look to the area where there's water. That was the only way that I could ever really understand what the political map was in our country growing up, was that if there was a body of water, chances are it was going to be a liberally controlled area. You had up and down the northeast coast. Almost every single one of those states was predominantly liberal. Going back across the Great Lakes region, a lot of this, especially with Minnesota, going down to.
Well, I'm happy to say I live on the Texas Gulf Coast, and I'll tell you what, that don't fly here, buddy.
Oh,
that dog don't hunt.
But go west and go to Corpus or go to Houston, and yes, my friend, that dog does hunt.
That's true. They're all a lot. And once again, a special shout out to Ted Cruz, who wore his special Texas flag knee pads today. I'm telling you, they look on him. They look good on him, Bubby. You did well.
Yeah. Well, I think you take a look at the mayor of Houston. She was under fire recently for her intolerance of religion, actually subpoenaing pastors to get
Can I give you?
their
Can I?
actual
Can I cut you
sermons.
off real quick on this, Mayor of Houston? Let me tell you what she just said. Like about 2 weeks ago, she said her greatest accomplishment while being mayor of Houston was that she liberated the bathrooms. And let me explain that to you. In Houston now, legally, you can go into whatever bathroom you want.
Yes, yes, yes. This is actually a
That's
couple
the
couple.
mayor of Houston's greatest accomplishment.
Yeah, she actually did this a couple months after Jerry Brown liberated the same bathrooms in California. So let my bathrooms go, as I believe what Moses
I
said.
have a dream of Price Fister.
There you go.
We gotta nail the gun safety
Yeah,
tonight.
yeah. Thanks to our buddy Hopper for getting us back on track there.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Rule number one: every firearm is loaded until you visually and physically ensure that it is not loaded. Rule number two: watch that muzzle direction. Do not point it at anything you do not wish to destroy. Rule number three: know what your target is and know what is beyond your target. And rule number four, which was violated like a cheerleader on prom, all over that gun show: keep your booger hook off the bang switch until you are ready to discharge the weapon.
There you go. There you go. You can't get much more basic than that, and it's amazing when you actually see people doing the right thing. It's like you want to go up and congratulate them and say, you know what?
Using appropriate trigger discipline. Here is a gift certificate to Denny's.
Yes, here you go. So yeah, that's one of the things I think I miss about being overseas in Europe was that the gun show is not just an experience. I mean, it's an adventure. You go in and it's a 2 or 3 day event. We're talking 5,000 vendors in a convention center, and it's just amazing. Some of the best breweries in Europe show up and set up beer gardens, and there's nothing better to be able to
I have never been at a gun show in the United States that allows alcohol.
I'm telling you, there's
to be honest with you,
like
I don't think that would work here just because of the way people think there and the way people think here. I don't think that would work.
I'll tell you what, it would be different if you started to teach your kids how to drink responsibly at 16 instead of making them wait till they're 21 and then they go ape shit. So, yeah, you know what? We don't do things the way they do it in Europe for good reason. However, I think everybody can learn a little something from everybody else. You don't have to necessarily go ahead and to take on that mantle, but you can go ahead and learn a little something. Hey, in France, kids are drinking wine at dinner.
I tell you what, I've learned something from people today. I've learned that Israel is not a friend of the United States.
Oh, fuck. Welcome to the party, because guess what? While we were having guys like Jonathan Pollard steal from us and given to them, they were none too keen about giving away that information. And oh, by the way, they still want him back.
Yeah, he's there's a statement attributed to Netanyahu that he supposedly uttered after leaving a visit with Pollard was, when the United States is done and we've extracted all we can from them, they can wither and fly away.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. His handler was actually interviewed. His handler was fired by the Israeli government. And he said that the only reason that Jonathan Pollard is not sitting in Israel right now was because he didn't follow the plan and he didn't do what he was supposed to do. He decided to go to the embassy and seek asylum, which was not in the plan.
Yeah, but things work different for them.
Yeah, So, anyways, we're getting close to the end of the night. Want to give a big shout to our listeners. Thanks for coming on and being in chat. We're following along with you guys, and we enjoy being out here on UCY.tv. Thank you, Jules. Thanks for having us. I appreciate it. Michael, thanks for having me on with you.
Nick, I wouldn't do it to anybody else, man. You're the man. I enjoy speaking with you every time I get a chance to. I look forward to our conversations outside of this arena. Can't wait to meet up, and we got a little bit of trading to do.
We do. I've got that nice SKB break action shotgun that's the over under, so we'll be sending it your way. Chris,
Well, I'll
thanks
tell
for
you what,
listening,
I
buddy.
got a wad of shotgun shells for you. Get your kids ready to lift.
All right. See you next week.
Everybody,
boys.
get out there, do what the song says. Buy a gun. Buy some ammo. Buy another gun. Buy more ammo. Buy a gun.